Have you got a spare few minutes? There's something I think you need to see. But first, meet the Davies family. Mum Georgina, Dad Steve, and sons Sam and Josh. They live here in suburban Melbourne, and this is their backyard.
I like just going out into the garden and eating stuff.
Sam's pretty spoilt for choice, from string beans to strawberries, carrots to capsicums. Even the flowers are edible.
We've got a lot of plants in our garden. We try to grow as much as we can. We've also got fish that we harvest, and also chickens for eggs. We've also got some bees, and they make really good honey.
So far they've harvested about 75 kilos of this stuff from their 2 hives.
Our priority is to always look after the bees, so we never harvest any more than what we should take. We also have an aquaponic system, so we grow our own fish to eat. We grow rainbow trout, and then on the top we grow veggies, and it's like a symbiotic relationship between the fish and the veggies.
An abundant food basket that pretty much delivers all year round. They even grow some for their street.
We built the edible fence with the next door neighbours with the purpose of sharing fruit. Next step was to put in a community garden for people wandering around the street could come and grab something to add to their meal, and we just keep changing what we're growing in the space depending on the season, and it's had good feedback. A lot of people comment on how cool it is, and it's inspired them to do a bit of gardening themselves, particularly the kids in the neighbourhood, which is really great.
And I just think as a society we have to come back to our roots.
And a few years ago, the Davies got the chance to do just that, when Steve, a teacher by trade, took on the rare opportunity to run a campus in the country.
So it's a Year 9 campus that teaches sustainability. So the focus is sustainability of the environment, personal and community.
At a place called Marshmead in Mallacoota.
So the girls would come up for 8 weeks, the school term. They'd be crying when they arrived, and then they'd be crying when they left because they just had the best time.
And they weren't the only ones. What began as an 18-month contract became a 4-year-long adventure for the whole family.
So my kids were just in this wild, untouched place, living amongst this community of all these students, which could be some people's nightmare, Year 9 students, but it was actually amazing. It was like having all these big sisters to hang out with. And one of the best things was taking my kids to school by boat every day. It wasn't probably until we returned to Melbourne that I saw what an impact it made. Like, here's these 2 boys that could tell you different native plants, different animals. They just were immersed in this wild country living. So
even when Sam and Josh were living back in the city, they still preferred trampolines to touchscreens. And then lockdowns came along.
It was hard because we were on computers a lot, and I didn't really get to go outside as much.
And all of a sudden my kids are stuck to these screens all day long. And I really saw a bit of a shift in their personality in a way. Not dramatically, like they're still very grounded boys, but it was a perfect example of why we haven't wanted them on electronics all the time. And why she believed more families could benefit from what hers had learned on their journey. So she wrote Rewilding in Suburbia. Just had this real calling to share with other people ways to help connect with nature while living in suburbia. So Rewilding in Suburbia, it lists 50 different ways that you can implement into your own life, in your family life, to just connect more with nature on a daily practice. Because that's how she was raised. You see, the Greek origin of the name Georgina literally means the farmer's daughter. We lived in Melbourne, but growing up I also had this farm, so I've run wild, and I just want my kids to be able to be barefoot outside and climb trees. And it's rubbing off.
It's just like, we've grown this, like knowing that we've worked for it to be able to grow, yeah. We know where it's come from, and also we know how to grow it and what grows when.
I think it's good because we can learn, and then when we're older we can have our own garden and know what to plant.
I think there's been a real shift with the way we've been doing things, and I think people realise that the way we've done stuff isn't necessarily sustainable, and it's now seen that we need to get back to our roots of growing food and connecting.
Starting in our own backyards.